this is Bruce Ludeman talking to you from Independence, Missouri. It's a really foggy morning out at the airport, so we're here in my classroom. Had a question about bartering in an aircraft partnership. Bartering works well on a very short-term basis. In other words, I have something of value to you that I don't need, and you have something of value to me that you don't need, so we swap. Makes a lot of sense, has been done for centuries. However, on a long-term basis, it does not work well with an aircraft partnership. As an example, aircraft partnerships decides to get an aircraft mechanic involved as a partnership with the basically upfront good idea of swapping maintenance hours for flying hours. Sounds good right up front, but in the long run, 8 to 12 months later, that will also sow the seeds for conflict. What will happen with that is that after a few months of working on the airplane and maybe not having time to fly, the mechanic's going to come back and complain that, well, I'm putting a lot of time in on the airplane, but I'm not getting my money's worth because I'm not getting enough hours in. And it's the same thing too if perhaps a flight instructor is involved with the partnership and the flight instructor says, well, I'm not getting enough flight hours in exchange for all the training I'm doing for the various partners. So if you have a partner that provides professional services to the partnership, what I would suggest is certainly use those professional services, but pay them for their time. That aircraft mechanic that you have working on the co-owned aircraft, pay them for their time on that. Areas of conflict are going to come up with that, especially is if an aircraft mechanic is working for free, so to speak, and they have a paid job come in, that co-owned aircraft is going to be put at the back of the list, back of the waiting line. Had a situation several years ago where a partnership was in conflict with a mechanic that they had included into the partnership. Now, he had bought a share, and I think probably at a discount, with the idea that he would, of course, swap services. Problem with it was, since it was technically, so to speak, a free service, they were bartering back and forth, that when a paid job came in, the co-owned aircraft got put at the back of the line. Conflict came in after about a year when the annual came around, and what was normally would be a 1 or 2 day job annual on that particular aircraft suddenly turned into several weeks until the aircraft mechanic got time to get back to it. Other conflict came up too because the aircraft mechanic was using the co-owned aircraft to fly to different airports to shag parts for other customers. That was okay, I suppose, but a problem came up when he had an emergency flight to get a part for a customer that was waiting, and he took the aircraft during a time that it was already scheduled by another partner. So that partner that was scheduled for the airplane was a weekend trip, had his family loaded up. He had been out to the hangar the night before to make sure the aircraft was full of fuel and clean, only to arrive at the airport and the hangar with his family excited to go to find the hangar door empty and watching the aircraft take off. Approximately an hour later, the aircraft returned with the aircraft mechanic and the part, and angry words were exchanged. What added fuel to the fire also was that the aircraft mechanic, in his haste to get the part to the friend, had a McDonald's Happy Meal for breakfast that morning and threw the empty wrappers in the back seat of the aircraft. What was also found too, as the conflict grew with the passengers, the aircraft mechanic has left his flight bag in the back seat one day, and in a side pocket was his flight log. One of the partners pulled out his logbook and noted that the last entry of the logbook was about 5 years previous for a student solo sign-off. In other words, the aircraft mechanic did not have a pilot's license. Now, the aircraft mechanic was a good old boy around the airport. Everybody assumed he was a private pilot, but that just added fuel to the fire there. Emergency meeting was called. A buyout offer was made, not accepted, to the aircraft mechanic. I was called to give some recommendations about how to get that partner out of the partnership. After some mediation, the offending partner was bought out, and it had a really happy ending to this partnership, but with an unusual twist. But that's a story for another time.